Hey, 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 good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight in Summitas CFA Late Evening Talk. It is our pleasure to have Mr. Beng Hui, the chairman of AB Maximus Singapore. Do you know who AB Maximus is? AB Maximus is Summitas' strategic partner in offering CFA prep classes. If this is not the first time you joined us in the CFA talk, you would have seen Beng Hui for um, quite regular. Yeah. And besides Beng Hui, tonight we also have another gentleman who is here with us, which is Mr. Surya. Mr. Surya is an accomplished finance executive with over 20 years experience in various multinationals with extensive global footprints with expertise ranging from raising equity, deal restructuring, M&A, valuation to compliance and business turnaround for corporates in a wide area of industry. Surya runs a successful corporate services firm providing corporate secretarial, outsourced accounting, and virtual CFO services. For us, Surya represents a real life example of a success accountant who has embraced CFA to reach the pinnacles of finance. Surya is presently CEO of a large retail group that has significant footprint in Southeast Asia too. Well, without further ado, let's welcome the two gentlemen.
Hi everyone. Thanks, Michelle, for the quick introduction. Yeah. So I just want to welcome Surya to the show. We are going to do this like a talk show, right? We're going to have a conversation tonight, and basically is to share with the audience here your story, Surya, that how you started at the beginning, your CFA journey, and the successes that you have reaped so far. So, how about would you like to start a little bit about your background before CFA? Let's start with that.
Thanks, Bengui, and thanks, Michelle. And welcome all, and thank you all for joining this session. First of all, there won't be any PowerPoint. I don't want to kill you all by showing up bullet points and other things. I'll just be talking, and I'll be sharing my experience. Uh, I've been a hardcore accountant all my life, and I had accounting qualifications from India, from the US, and from Singapore. So I thought I had covered myself well, and I was so far very well insulated from any movements in career, and I was happily settled and working for a US multinational giant with more than 16 billion US dollar turnover worldwide in Indonesia. I had worked with them ground up and reached the position of finance director there, and usual month end closing, budgeting, reporting to US, reporting to Indonesian authorities, the usual normal stuff. Suddenly one day I had a knock on my door, and top tier US private equity asked me whether I'll be willing to move to Singapore to help them fix their very critical portfolio, uh, where they had invested quite a big chunk of money, and it was failing. It was failing significantly. So after a bit of deliberation, I took a leap of faith and moved lock, stock, and barrel from Indonesia to Singapore. That was in the year 2002. Uh, from 16 plus billion dollar to a struggling company with less than 10 million annual US turnover, not knowing where the cash is coming from, everybody moving around like a chicken with the head cut, and I had no idea. And suddenly I realized that all the accounting qualification which they thought I had mastered and I'm thorough is of, I mean, it's not helping me to do my job. And suddenly I would, and the US private equity increased their shareholding from something like 34% to about 100% in about 2 years time. About from so Once that was done, I was dealing with a bunch of hardcore business team comprising of sales, operations, supply chain, and all. On the other hand, there were this brilliant, sharp, uh, blunt, hard talking US and UK based private equity guys, hedge fund guys, and venture capitalist guys.
So these
And
are the people that own the company now.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
Okay.
What they were talking to me went over my head. I said, what is it talking? What is this buzzword? I used to keep a note and try to Google and find out what is this thing. And I tried to catch up with them. And I was trying to see why I'm lacking. Despite all the big US, Singapore, and Indian qualification, why I'm lacking this. I realized that each one of them whom I was interacting with had one common denominator. They all had CFA. In addition, they had CPA, CMA, or MBA, but that's different. They all had CFA. Once that was identified, and that was the first time I had known about a course called CFA. I was 44, mind you, wrong side of 40s. And just when I was thinking, what is this CFA course? These guys come and tell me, are you not a CFA? I said, I'm not. Okay, please join CFA. We are giving you 2 years time to complete the course. I said, I don't even know what the course is. They said, we will fully fund you everything through, join CFA and finish it off. Already the business was in a chaotic situation, so many things to be fixed. It was a 7 day, 100 hours, 7 day a week, 100 hours a week job. And we started buying and acquiring companies, going through various processes and moving at a top speed. And I was traveling. I had a family in Singapore. And here these guys are saying, please pass it in 2 years' time. So I joined the course in July 201, sorry, 2004, and December 2004 I cleared level 1. June 2005 I cleared level 2, and June 2006 I cleared level 3, all at first shot. I'll come to this later. Now, suddenly after clearing this, since I had already worked with them, I was able to get my charter quickly. Then suddenly, when I was thinking I was stuck in a place, I was able to, while I doing this, I was also practically interacting with them. And suddenly I realized that I was able to talk to them in their language, move at the same speed at which they were moving. And we started acquiring businesses all over the place, and we were buying. I was getting involved in negotiation, deal structuring, arranging the funding, negotiating with the financiers, different financiers which JP Morgan had brought to the table. And my mind had totally opened up from being, and business first started flourishing. Just to give an example, in 13 years when I was with the company, year one, the sale was less than 10 million US, and all losses. More than 60% was losses. When I had left, because I had left because the private equity was exiting. When I had left, it was clocking 120 million US dollar turnover. Okay, and we had presence in all over the world, significantly in the US, Canada, and Europe, and they were minting money like anything. So I realized that I had transitioned myself from a typical bean counter to somebody who is sprouting the beans, right? And CFA course is the course which opened my eyes and led me to those areas which I would have never been exposed before. I was on the board of their key companies in the US, the Canada, UK, Croatia, France. and almost all the companies within the region in Southeast Asia, and of course Singapore. So I was all over. And
So
now,
basically, you have from a mid to a back office kind of a role as an accountant or financial controller, right? And now, after some time, basically you have the seat at the table, right? Basically,
absolutely,
you are kind of like on the board of all these investee companies for this group.
absolutely, and very rightly so. And the what in addition to all these things, while it was happening, uh, one I asked them, why are you putting me here with so many places? What is so special about me? Why are you putting me in all those countries? They said, came back to me with a one single answer. You are in risk. There are two reasons why we are putting you. You are responsible for this turnaround, so you need to drive that process, so we want you to be in the forefront. One reason. Number two, whenever we go into these territories, when you're putting the name there, you have to sell to the local government authorities and other things. The CFA qualification was more instantly widely recognized than country specific CA or CPA qualifications. So I said, I never thought of it before. So that's one of the key points. Let me tell you something interesting. Once they had exited, I helped them to sell and exited. This company was in pure play commodity to the manufacturing to retail in automotive and allied accessories sector. and, and it also moved into batteries and mobile and everything. So that's what I had been doing all my life, 13 years. When I had exited, when I had to quit, question was, usually what happens once you are in a particular industry, you are branded as though you are stuck with that industry for the rest of your life. I moved to another industry, totally different. It was a IT, software as a service company. It was called Helix. It was owned by an Australian family office. I had done some presentation, and this Australian family office spotted this presentation. That the head of that family office reached out to me, and he arranged a meeting with their family office, and they said, uh, uh, first question among the other thing they asked, "Are you a CFA?" They didn't bother about my accounting qualification. Are you a CFA? I said, I am a CFA. Okay, fine. Then the inventory was done. Out of around 350 odd applications, I was chosen. Right? It was a LinkedIn advertised post, and I was in. So I was handling their family office as well as their growth within this company, and which had again, it was Singapore based. They had just started in 2014 or something. Yeah, 2014. So when they had started it, again their sales turnover something like 8 million US. 3 years later, when I left, it was something like 65 million US, with 80% of the revenue coming from the US market. We had done some major acquisitions in the US, Latin America, Middle East, and Indonesia. And we were also expanding our footprint in Perth. One of the key turning point was all the people in the family office, they were all CFAs, Australians. So I realized that CFA gave me an unfair advantage to move to a totally different industry. I mean, the industry, which they also knew that I knew nothing about IT, software as a service company, with all the complications thrown in. They knew I don't know, but then they relied on the CFA qualification for me to drive the process and take it forward. So once there was, and it was grueling, and it was so grueling that I was hardly in Singapore. I was traveling literally almost 3 to 4 weeks a month. So I decided to take a break, and when it took a break, there was another private equity Hong Kong based company. They said, look, they are trying to buy over a Singapore company. Would I be interested in joining them as a CFO to help them to structure the deal? I mean, suddenly, how did the Hong Kong guy knew about it? I don't know. And again, it was a CFA which helped me to go into that. The HK guys were all hardcore blue-blooded Chinese CFAs, and Chinese and CFA is a very very dangerous combination. Okay, so they are very smart, sharp, and they had this CFA qualification, and I helped them around. Once that was done, and suddenly I had a knock on my door again, and the door came from a European family office with the headquartered in UK. They asked me whether I'll be willing to move to a manage a firm which had some 40 odd clinics in Singapore and Malaysia, and I was to be a COO and CFO, CEO and CFO. And they said, "Look, I want you to help me to fix this deal in 12 months' time. And can you help us join this and fix it?" It was 100% family owned by a family which is based in Hong Kong. So deal was between the Hong Kong based. They didn't call me. The US based family office operating out of London, they reached out. So once I joined, within 3 months, I was kicked upwards as a MD and CEO, and we had medical clinics. We had uh, the health spa. You got I mean everything in between, and both in Malaysia and Singapore. And the team was around 450 people. Uh, so I was practically, I think, the entire Chinese denominated organization. I was possibly about s- one of the three Indians kind of a thing, Chinese Singaporean Indians. So, but then what happened was, uh, I was able to see where the problem is, because CFA had already trained me up. We were buying brands, we were buying companies, we were expanding like anything. And it took me about 9 months to arrive at the valuation. It was an intense valuation. And we shook the hands and signed the term sheet. So interestingly, I realized then that this CFA qualification per se helped me to be recognized and spotted by various investors who wherever I went, they all were having CFA qualifications. And the only advantage they saw was that if he is a CFA, I am also CFA. First of all, he will be highly ethical. I will take it for granted. So he's from a same fraternity. I know this guy out. And three, you will be able to catch up. We'll be able to talk on the same wavelength. And that I thought was critically useful for me to jump up and move up from one industry, from uh, wholesale trading and to buying and selling coal and iron ore, to automobiles, tires, batteries, to mobile phone, to a pure play SAS IT services firm, uh, to a marine engineering services firm, to a medical clinic and beauty business firm, out and out plus retail, to um, uh, to to, I'm also helping another company in environmental services now. Now suddenly I realized that this, had it not been for this, let me put it in plain and simple words, had it not been for this, I would have been stuck somewhere doing the uh, normal accounting work, stuck in an industry which I would not have been able to get out, doing the same job month in and month out and year in and year out. And the only suggestion I have for you is, I joined this course when I was 44 years of age. I had not even heard about the course. And mind you, I was not in financial services sector. All along after my CFA, I have always worked in corporate sector. So I want you to perish the thought that CFA is useful only in financial services. It is useful, extremely useful, and recognized in corporate services sector, where the real deal happens, buying and selling of the companies happen. Okay, so that's one. If you are doing joining this course along with your accounting, which is what I did, you have a dual advantage. Accounting one, CFA 2. So 1 plus 1 becomes not 2, 1 plus 1 becomes 11. You have advantage which is much superior to anybody. You can swing between accounting and finance, and more importantly, you will not be joining this. I had joined this course and I took advantage of this qualification at the age of 44. You, by joining at age which is 20 years younger, imagine what kind of an advantage you will have given yourself to your career. It's a kind of, I would say, rocket propeller. It thrusts your career to uh, top speed. And my suggestion is join this course as early as you can and make most out of it, and you will never regret it. Having said this, let me share with you some one more comment which as a final point. uh, and I'm sharing some kind of trade secret. One of my friend who is again, yeah, who is a UK chartered accountant and ACCA kind of a thing, both together. He thought he had England and Wales and ACCA, CFA will be a cakewalk. Suddenly he realized that, oh, it is not so. So, but in my case, at the age of 44, not having touched the books for many years, only doing the work, not even reading anything, if I could clear the course in one shot, there was only one reason. The reason was I had switched my mindset. When you're doing CFA, do not bring your so-called accounting knowledge. I'm big accountant. I know this. I know that to the table. It is a totally different ball game. You have to fine tune your efforts towards that CFA exam, and let me tell you, assure you this, it is perfectly doable. With the online exams, you don't even need to wait so many months to clear your three levels. You should be able to do it faster, and it is more easy for you to do it when you're young, mind when your mind is fresh. You don't have family to manage, you don't have a big front end table to manage, and you can easily slog your way out to clear the course at first shot. So change your mindset for CFA, join as quickly as you can, complement it. It's not a supplement. I mean, I'm not saying you junk your accountant to do this. Do both together, and I think you will never ever regret your decision. Once you complete, you will, once things start happening in your life, you'll be pinching yourself. Wow, I'm glad that I joined the course and I did not waste a time, and it is so useful, and I'm heads and shoulders above my competition. You'll be above your competition. Others come to the table with accounting, you'll be going to the table with accounting plus CFA. That's an edge you get it. Thank you very much.
It's wonderful, wonderful advice, Surya. So I think it's really fantastic that this has helped a lot with your career. Basically, you're able to speak the same language with the owner of the company or the venture cap funds, called PE funds, that were buying up the businesses. You're able to help build companies. You're able to basically represent the owners at the table. So, and you also mentioned that this also gives you something like a passport, right? You can switch quite flexibly from one industry to another industry without much of a problem. And of course, also you also gave us some advice in terms of start early, uh, go for it when you're still young, if possible. And of course, for this program, preparation is of course very important. So it's
Absolutely.
all very good advice. Thank you, thank you. So we just want to pause a little bit for the audience. If you'd like to ask any question, uh, about careers, about transitioning from an accounting career to a career in finance, or to a career to running companies. So I just want to open this for the audience quickly. If you have any questions, uh, feel free to post it up. We're happy to answer them right now. Okay, just pause for a little bit. If you have any questions, feel free to post them. Okay, not to worry, guys. Um, we have another half an hour. What I'll do is I will perhaps share a little bit more about the CFA program in general, because I understand that some of you are still studying for your ACCA and your ICAW. So let me just do a few slides and talk a bit about, in general, the CFA program. We'll come back again at the end. If you have questions at that time, uh, you can bring them back towards the end. Is that okay? Yeah, so let's do a few. I have some slides to share. So what I'll do is I will share my screen. Okay. So I'm going into the full screen. Um, it's okay, right? You can see the full screen. Okay, so maybe just a quick, I would say, advertisement about the company AB Maximus. As Michelle mentioned, we've been working together with Sunway Tests for some time now. It's actually 10 years, but as a company, we've been running CFA training since 1997. So it's more than 20 years, being pioneers in this CFA prep in Southeast Asia for a long time. Over the course of the many years along the way, we have actually helped the regulators here in Singapore, in Malaysia, in Brunei, basically to run the securities licensing preparation. We help people prepare for licensing exams. We help the regulators actually develop the materials in terms of the examination guide and the examination questions in Singapore, Malaysia, and Brunei. Uh, and of course, since 2008, we started also running retail investor education for the regulators here in Malaysia and Singapore. And of course, along the way, we have run more programs, but they're all very focused in terms of equity analysis, securities trading, derivatives trading. So very much into specialized into this field. Yeah, just a quick advertisement there. But we are actually primarily a CFA prep course provider. And of course, just to note that the programs that we run for CFA, we do not just have just one or two lecturers to teach the program, right? We actually have subject matter experts like Mr. Surya, for example, who leads the financial statement analysis classes for our program with Sunway. So we have subject matter experts basically teaching obviously the subjects that they're experts in. We typically have 4 or 5 or even more lecturers coming in per level. And of course, right at the end, we bring in a examination specialist to do the revision. Okay, for those who are not too familiar with the CFA program, obviously today you can get a lot of information from the CFA Institute, but essentially this is a graduate level program. You need to have uh, the minimum entry requirement is to have a bachelor's degree or equivalent. So if you have a ACCA or ICAW qualification, that's considered to be equivalent, or you're in the final year of that program, then you can sign up for the CFA to do the CFA program. So today there are more than 100,000 professionals globally in more than 130 countries with the CFA designation. So it's relatively speaking, as a profession, there are not like a million people having it, but it's 100,000, over thousand people having it. So in a way, it's kind of quite rare, if you will. Today, it's recognized by many regulatory bodies, financial regulatory bodies, uh, as a proxy to meeting licensing requirements. What it means is, if you're applying for certain licenses, you may actually get exemptions if you have the CFA designation. And also to show that this is really a truly globally recognized program. Many top universities around the world, uh, so the top universities in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in the UK, in America, they actually incorporate the CFA curriculum into their degree programs, right? So many universities in Malaysia today uh, do that. So basically, the idea is this, right? Why reinvent the wheel when the CFA has got a wonderful curriculum? So some of the finance programs, whether they are the bachelor degree or even some of the master degree programs, they do incorporate the CFA curriculum. So the CFA actually is the gold standard. It's widely recognized not just by the in the academic world, but even in the investment banking, research, fund management industry. It is the gold standard, the most widely recognized in the past, I would say, 30, 40 years. Okay, so just a quick one. Of course, the full details you can get it from CFA Institute, but in order to get to the CFA charter, you need to pass all the levels of exams. There are three levels of examinations. Number two, you need 48 months of relevant working experience. So the experience can be retrospective or it can be after you have completed the CFA exams. So they're kind of like independent. You can accumulate your experience before, during, or after you have completed the CFA exams. So as you're applying to get your CFA charter, you need to get reference letters from, preferably from CFA, and then you need to join the CFA Institute as a regular member. So this is a professional qualification, right? Which means you need to actually maintain your CFA charter. So on an annual basis, there are two things you need to do. Of course, number one is to renew the membership, and of course, number two, uh, there is no compulsory CPD at the moment. It may come eventually, right? So membership is the key thing, and of course, on an annual basis, you need to sign an undertaking that you have been a good professional, you haven't broken any rules. Uh, then the CFA Institute will actually renew your membership. Okay, so it's a membership base, it's a professional designation. Okay, so just a pie chart to show where most of the members are working. So primarily the CFA members, they are fund managers. So that's the biggest chunk of it. Of course, at the same time, there are many accounting and finance professionals like Mr. Surya, uh, who have the CFA charter. So we have 12% of that. Then there's also a sizable number working in investment banks. They are the deal makers. Then we have the private bankers, wealth managers, and then we have people who are either trading in equities or maybe doing research, doing risk management, doing private equity. So this is basically showing where most of our members are working. So it's not just in the banking area, not just in the finance, but it's spread out over uh, many other types of jobs. But of course, there is a common denominator, like what Surya said. They all have the three-letter after their names, and of course, they can speak the same language of finance. Okay, I'm showing this chart uh, that traces the number of people taking the program right up to 2019. So this program has been in Asia since the mid 1980s, since the early 1990s. It started to run in Malaysia. And of course, globally, the 16,000 is a global number. So in 1993, there were only 16,000 people taking the program. In 2019, before the pandemic, there were 350,000 people taking the program. So I'm showing you this slide is because this is the competition, right? These 350,000 people, eventually, they are your competitors for that job in finance, in deal making, in becoming a CEO or COO, of a company, whatever the company may be. So that is your competition. It's a global competition, not a local competition. This is a global designation. It is a passport uh, to finance-related jobs. Okay, now I want to switch gear a little bit and talk about the curriculum a little bit. Um, so the CFA curriculum uh, is a curriculum that is updated continuously. As being a course provider company and personally being very much involved in the CFA scene in Southeast Asia, uh, I can say that the curriculum on an annual basis changes, is updated. Basically, what the CFA Institute does is it relies on its global membership, and it calls upon the senior members to be part of a volunteer committee to propose, to suggest, uh, what is relevant for the industry, so that goes into the curriculum. Now, having said that, of course, in level one, the curriculum is pretty stable. From year to year, maybe you expect a single-digit percentage of change, whereas in level three, as you see, 30% of level three uh, is new in 2019, 2020, right? So, so okay, that's a lot. That's a big number. Normally, the change is not that much, but every few years, there's a big change, and that comes in at level three, and then it trickles down to level two. Level one is relatively stable, unless, of course, there's a big change, maybe in accounting standards. Then you can see that maybe level one, you see some big changes. Otherwise, level one is basically a single digit percentage change. Okay. The 2020 and 2021 curriculum actually, they kind of remain the same because of the pandemic. First time ever, no changes to curriculum because first time ever there's this, pandemic during the CFA. Okay, level two, there are some changes. I'm going to skip this because not really relevant, I think, for most of you here. But just to highlight that there are some changes, and these are actually quite important changes because now the CFA curriculum is not just only about the hardcore finance. It also incorporates things that are impacting finance, like machine learning, big data, corporate governance, uh, and so on, right? And even a little bit of fintech is coming into the hardcore finance because these are things that affect, these are things that impact finance. So that's why level three, almost all of the readings, many of the readings get affected. Okay, so this slide is about the global pass rates. Well, I mean, basically, some of you may be totally new to the program, and you may have heard, oh, how difficult it is, blah, blah, blah. It is true on one hand that the CFA curriculum can be quite difficult as it is reflected in the passing rates for level one. Uh, this for the December sitting in 2019. So basically, Level 1 is less than 50% passing rates. And also, this is assuming this is like not even considering the people who don't show up, right? Out of 100 people who register, uh, 25 will chicken out on the day of the exam. Out of those who sit for the exam, around 42% will pass. So actually, the effective rate is less than 40%. All right, it's like 30 something percent will make it. Um, but not really to scare people off. It is just a statistic, right? For those who are well prepared, then you are not on the wrong side of the statistic. So you have nothing to worry about. Um, with the effort, with the persistence, um, most people who prepare adequately, they would actually get through, right? You might have heard that, okay, there's just 300 hours of preparation. That is true. 300 hours of preparation if you have the accounting or finance background. So I think for most of you who are from the ACCA program or ICAW program, or maybe taking a finance program in some way, then your preparation time basically is 300 hours. If you don't, if you don't have the accounting finance background, you need to level up your knowledge minimally in accounting and economics, and maybe some statistics. Okay, level up. Spend a bit of time, brushing up on those subjects. Then and only then is 300 hours. I kind of talked about it already, the pass rates. When the program started in the early 60s, of course, 95% of people passed because all of them were either fund managers or investment analysts. So today we have many different kinds of candidates, and it's a large number of people. Some people may not have English as their first language and so on. So therefore, the passing rate's kind of like 50% or something like that. Okay, so very quickly into the exam weightage. Today in 2021, for level 1, you see a range of weightage. Whereas before 2020, the weightage for level 1 is fixed. So meaning that you will see, okay, how many percent, then you'll know exactly how many questions will appear for each of the 10 topics. But today, there's a range of weightage. So it really depends, and it also gives the examiner, that is a CFA institute, the flexibility to make some adjustments in the number of questions per subject. But the total number of questions remain the same. Okay, it's fixed. Uh, it's slightly less than previously because now the exams are computer based, and there's a bit less time given to you. So I will show some summary slides, but then again, you can check it out from CFA Institute website. Previously, for level 1, there were only 2 exams a year, June and December. So in terms of our preparation classes, we run 2 seasons of classes, right? First semester, second semester. So in 2021 onwards, the Institute offers more than 2 exams for level 1. In fact, this year, in addition to the 4 scheduled exams, the Institute actually added extra examination sessions, again, all because of the COVID. But once the things go back to the steady state, level 1 will be 4 times a year. But that doesn't mean that we will run courses 4 times a year. We will still run our courses 2 semesters a year. Why is that the case? Is because there is actually a certain preparation time needed. And I don't think we can actually cram everything within 2 months. We kind of spread it out over around 4 months of preparation. Okay, so that's why it's only 2 semesters in terms of classes. Okay, So 2022 will still be 4 times a year. And then maybe some quick information about the exam. They are all computer based now. So meaning that you don't go into an examination hall with 1,000 people there. But in Singapore, it's even scarier. Previously, the examination hall is 3,000 people, right? For level one alone. So it's very scary. So now it's all computer based. So you'll go to a computer testing, like a prometric testing center, um, and the exam is not. It's just. It's still one full day. It's still one full day, but there is a range of dates you can choose. Okay, you can choose within the exam window. It's just like an SAT exam, right? There's this computer-based testing. There's a computer center. There's a range of dates. You go online. You choose the date that you want. Show up on that day. Okay. So the same now for the CFA going forward. So in terms of the exam cycle, just to take note of this, um, the third bullet point, okay, if you don't pass your level one, you need to wait for around 6 months. So remember, there were 4 sittings, right? So you can't go for the next sitting. You need to wait, skip one sitting, right? So that is what they put up on the website. But the thing is this, do check out the CFA Institute website because there could be changes to these terms and conditions, okay? But essentially, the examination, CFA examination is a total of 270 hours per level. 270 minutes, sorry, per level. 270 minutes per level. Previously, it is longer. Previously, it is 360 minutes. That is 6 hours. Today, the testing time is only 4.5 hours. So therefore, the number of questions are fewer compared to previously. But that doesn't make the exam easier, right? It is still of the same rigor as before. Okay, same rigor. It doesn't make it more simplified. At the same time, for those who are not aware, the examination answer, you have 3 choices, A, B, and C. There's no fourth choice. Again, it doesn't make it any easier. Um, Basically, what the Institute has done is they've done some scientific study. And of course, for ourselves, we've been doing this for so many years. And also, we also involved in setting questions for the local regulators here. Really, I mean, the fourth choice usually is a nonsensical choice anyway. So it doesn't really make much of a difference. So 3 choices is enough to distinguish those who know the subject matter. Okay, I'm coming to the end of the briefing before we bring everyone back again to take your question Q&A. Okay, so basically some more things about the exam. You can read it up very quickly. Okay, we've got some dates here, and of course, Michelle can also share with you these dates here. We have are basically the first half of the year, first semester dates. The second semester dates, you can actually receive it via email. You can request it from Michelle. But from here, you can see that preparation, right, is 4 months, basically. Okay, here's the secret sauce, which is not really a secret sauce, of how we prepare for the classes. And in fact, this is a takeaway as well. Um, Basically, we recommend people, pre-read before you come for any class, so that you can get the most out of the class, right? So they can ask questions, have that interaction during the class. So classes today are run via Zoom because of the safety measures. So in Malaysia, I think there's still the MCO. So classes are still done online for our program. Even in the second half, we foresee to continue to do via Zoom. So attend the classes. As part of the package, the class, we provide the Wiley study materials. So you get the Wiley study guide. You also get to access the Wiley question bank. You get to access the Wiley pre-recorded videos, just in case you kind of miss certain concepts in the class in our class. You can watch the Wiley videos. We also recommend that you try the practice questions uh, at the end of each study session. Okay, don't wait until the end of the program. That's too late, right? Regular practice, every reading, every topic, practice, practice, practice. So really, this is like a marathon. It's not a quick fix. And also, we don't really recommend people preparing by doing reverse engineering. That is, by studying the questions and then you hope to pass. It is very important that although in level one, some people can pass by studying the questions, but we think it's not sufficient because you want to build a solid foundation. Because as you progress up to the higher levels, the reverse engineering doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't work. So you need to actually prepare, practice, and really it's the discipline to make it. It's not how smart you are because all of you obviously you are doing or you have done your ACCA, ICW. You're smart enough, no problem all the smarts. Now is the preparation, it is the perseverance, it is the discipline that will take you through the CFA program. So with that, I just want to open up the session for Q&A. We have some contact details here. You can see that on the screen afterwards. So I'm just going to stop sharing my slide now. I've been talking nonstop the last 20 minutes or so, and I hope that you can, uh, ask us more questions about the program, about what Surya has shared just now, about what I had shared with you, um, about the CFA program, about the study program, and so on. Yeah. So I just want to welcome back both Surya and also Michelle. And of course, there are some questions we see on the screen. So maybe we can have Surya, if you like to take some of these questions. If not, I'm happy to also take them, right? So the first one is, okay, I've been working in audit for 2 years, interested in doing investment like asset management or equity analysis. Is it true that they disregard your auditing experience? Do I really need CFA as a ticket into the industry?
Um, Let me take that question. Uh, the differential factor is the language factor. They do not want a pure play audit or core bean counter. They are dime a dozen. Okay, they want somebody. If you got a audit at pure accounting background, it's a solid foundation. I'm not discounting that. Let me tell you this, but CFA is the icing on the cake. You have a CFA, they know that you have also a accounting and background. They think it's the best of both worlds, but it's like, how do I put it? It's the CFA. It's like it's attracting the attention. It is a kind of a magnet. CFA attracts a magnet into the investment industry. Once you get the attention, the you're being an accountant in top of in addition to CFA puts you in two steps ahead of the everybody else. So my word is CFA helps you to get the attention that is very critically needed into get into the investment. I was just a normal bean counter. Nobody bothered. I was also happy. The world was happy. Everybody, but it the CFA made me recognize the people to recognize what I can contribute and move from one industry to another. If I'm bored in one industry, I was able to move to a totally different industry, and I could do that only because of CFA.
Yeah, this is actually a very good question because I think the accounting experience gives that solid core knowledge or core foundation, right? And then the CFA builds upon it. So I mean, just to compare, say myself and Surya, right? Personally, I don't have an auditing or accounting experience. So of course, if me and Surya go for the job interview, right, to be a COO of the company, of course they will pick Surya, right, over me because I don't have that core experience of auditing or accounting. And quite likely some of these companies will require you to have a certain core, strong core foundational experience, right? Okay, so that's the first one. There's another question. The next one. See, I'm currently an ICA EW member. Will be taking CFA exam in November. Okay, that's good timing. Just wondering, would you recommend one to switch from one company or from one industry to another within a short time frame, say every 3 years, to be switching industry?
Uh, my take here is, so long as you don't touch the year of 40, you are welcome to jump. But once you are in 40 years, you stick on and grow with that company, because that's the advantage you have got, because you'd be able to stabilize. But if you're able to find your sweet spot around 35 years or so, and you think you have landed yourself in a nice position in a company, and you're able to see your career progress well, uh, no need there is no need for you to change, unless and until you are bored of doing the being the same industry, you want to go to a different industry, you can do that. But answer your question, there's no harm in jumping, but don't jump too frequently, because rolling stones gather no mass. You need to be there in a place, you need to deliver the results. You can't say I did this, turned the company upside down within 6 months. It doesn't sell. They'll say it takes 6 months for you to understand what the heck is happening in the backyard, or what are you talking about changing. So you need to be able to quantify your performance. Say, I did this because of which this was a situation. I did this because of this, the company gained in dollar and cents. That can happen only when you stay in a company little longer than, let's say, 1 year or 2 years time, because somebody has to be convinced that you did all those things that you are claimed to be doing, you are claiming in your resume.
Yeah, this is good advice. Rolling stone gathers no moss. It's quite true. Even in today's world, where okay, people kind of switch jobs. But to Surya's, just to repeat Surya's point, that in the first few jobs when you're younger, I think generally employers don't mind if you switch around. But once you reach a certain maturity, it's very important to have that track record because when an employer sees the candidate, you see, okay, if this person every once in a while keep changing, something is wrong. Right? Something is wrong. This person cannot uh, uh, really hold on to a full-time position for too long. Okay. Okay. We have a question from Samuel Saw. Okay, let me take this one. Would you recommend fresh graduates to enter, I guess, to enroll for the CFA immediately, or to gain some working experience prior to enrolling? Um, to Surya's point at the beginning, right? Don't start too late. While the mind is still very fresh, energy is there, you have fewer commitments, whether it's a job commitment or family commitment, start early. Now, the thing about CFA is very flexible, right? But the thing is, start early. It's flexible in the sense that you can take it, you can stop it for a while, and you can continue. Once you pass a level, it's yours. There's no expiry date for the level one pass. Previously, I think when we took it, if 7 years you don't pass, you need to start again. Now, no more. For CFA, there's no expiry date for the examination results. Okay, so that's the good news. So that's the first part of Samuel's question about when should you start, it's okay. Start when you're ready. Don't wait too long. Second part of your question is about gaining the experience. Okay, for level one, I think it's okay, no problem. You don't really need to have that accounting or finance experience for level one. As you move up to the higher levels in CFA, having some finance experience will be helpful. Right, will be helpful. Again, it's not the end of the world. We have some students who just do it continuously, right? One after another, immediately after they graduated. So it's flexible. It's really up to you. But having some experience for the higher levels in finance will be helpful. Okay, so I hope we answer the questions that you have. So far, only three questions. Okay, I'm kind of conscious of the time. It's kind of overshot a little bit. I just want to prompt the audience again, whether you have any other questions about the career, questions for Surya, questions for myself, questions for Michelle. Uh, yeah, maybe Michelle, you want to share a little bit about, okay, how many countries recognize the qualification? Okay, for this one, to be frank, I don't have the exact number, but essentially what you can do is to check with the financial regulator of the specific country, right? They will spell it very clearly what exemptions they provide. So usually, um, it will be typically the equities paper or the derivatives paper. Uh, it will not be the rules and regulations paper for sure. Okay, it's either it's a fund management paper, equities paper, futures paper, or the derivatives paper that you could get exemptions from, whether it's Hong Kong or Thailand, or Singapore or Malaysia. And now, of course, Brunei, you're going to get it very soon because we are just about completing a project for Brunei. Okay. Um, so, of course, if you need to be licensed, obviously there's always licensing exams in any jurisdiction, right? Any jurisdiction. There's no way that the financial regulator or the central bank will allow you to practice in a regulated profession. uh, Definitely you need to take exams or you get exemptions from it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I
Michelle,
can
you
also.
have,
Oh, okay. There's
you have,
another
you
question.
have,
Yeah, any validity
yeah.
period
So as
that
I
I need
mentioned,
to.
there is
Yeah.
no
No. Yeah.
validity period. Once you complete it, the examination results are yours. Then applying for the membership is a separate exercise. So, so theoretically, what most people do is they will do the exams. While they are doing the exams, some may start to apply for jobs within the industry. Of course, many people aspire to be a fund manager, right? Or they aspire to be a chief financial officer or the big boss. But of course, you need to take some steps, right? So the idea is to get one foot in, right? So get into a job. It may not be the job that you want initially, but it helps you break into that particular field. Okay. So we have got some students that they're even willing to do work in a bank. Okay. This person really wants to be a trader and he wants to work in an investment bank, right? One of the US banks. But he started out at a back office and he's just doing back office work, whatever work that they give it to him, he takes it up. After a few years, he managed to convert uh, because there's an opening available in the front office in trading. After a while, he knows the people there, and basically sometimes the opportunities they are mostly open to insiders, right? They kind of offer it to people that they know, although they put up the advertisement, but usually the candidate they already picked who they want. So the idea is to get in, right? Doesn't matter what job, take it. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it was really for accounting background students. There's actually no reason for you. There's no limit actually to access or to pick up. The CFA qualification. Don't be afraid to take the challenge. I would say, yeah. Yeah, so it really is a very good sharing from Surya. You have actually have inspired me because being at the age of 44, you still take the CFA exam. That's really a salute to you. And yeah, so for our students here in Summitas, being the active students or the graduates, you're still young. Just don't lose the opportunity while you're still having it. Yeah. So I just want to add on that our next intake will be in July and we will open for enrollment in May. However, you can always reach out to me for any further information, such as like you want the fee structure or the schedule. The full schedule we do not have it yet, but like what Beng Hui has shown just now, the commencement date that I can actually share with you. Yeah. Do we have any more questions from the floor? It seems we have overtake some of the time. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. Good session. It's okay to take a longer, time so that we can share more information. Yeah, to you guys. Yeah. So it seems there's no more questions. So any more advice from you, Surya, to our current students and graduates?
I would say only one thing. As Bengui mentioned, on the the average pass rate, let's say for level one is 50%, and since you are young, you're already pursuing the accounting. Your mind is already tuned towards studying and passing those difficult accounting exams. Your mind is tuned towards that. You know, Somehow or the other, I need to clear that exam. So use that advantage your mind is giving to you to be a part of that 50%, because you lose the time, it's difficult to catch up. Today, at, at the age of, today there are so many distractions. When I passed in 2006, the distractions were less. Today you got distractions galore. Social media is flooded. You are distracted here, distracted there, family, functions, partying. You can manage that when you are young. You're studying, your mind is active, it is on the ball. Take advantage, take undue advantage of that mindset to clear it at first go. I'm telling you, all that you need to do is tell your mind, I'm going to do it, and your whole body and the entire universe will push you to do it towards that 50% mark. Doable.
Yeah, mindset change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Universe moves towards what you think.
Yes, agree. So, Bingwei, any advice from you?
Yeah, don't hesitate, basically.
Join now.
Yes.
Join now. Yes. Okay. Well, so I guess it is time for us to
Yeah.
close for tonight's session. So thank you very much, Surya. Thank you, Beng Hui. So we hope that we will have another chance to have both of you again in the screen, or perhaps we can invite more of our lecturers to come in to share their experiences and all that. So stay tuned for our next session and good night, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye bye.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.